Okay, SNEAKO, Moist Critical, had one of the best, worst debates of all time. What were they talking about? They were talking about the age of consent, specifically with regards to minors and if a minor can be allowed to get married. Now, SNEAKO pointed out the crazy logic in Moist Critical's thought process, why minors shouldn't be allowed to get married, while being okay with minors doing other things that are even more permanent to them. Both of these are bad takes, but it's a conversation that's happening right now. I think it's an important conversation to have, and I want to give a big shout out to Patrick CC, who put together this entire hour-long video of the entire conflict, the brutal beef between Penguinz0 and SNEAKO. You guys should go watch it. Penguinz0 / Charlie / Moist Critical. SNEAKO used to be a very, very dope creator. Now he kind of does streaming. It was initially kind of like red pill stuff, and it's kind of pivoted more to like, he's like a new convert to Islam. He actually just had a really cool conversation with Young Don on his Rumble. I don't know if Don's going to clip any of it up. I want to play this for you guys and react to some parts of it, but this is a really crazy conversation, just to give you guys a heads up. Listen and see if you could catch the horseshoe theory. You know, the horseshoe theory where like people connect on the opposite ends of the horseshoe. See if you guys can catch it.
You're saying that the US defined adult as 18. Well, I'm saying 200 years ago, the age of marriage in America was 10 and the UK was 7. Right? So if the government...
Okay. I didn't know that. And that's crazy. We got to fact check that. Hold on real quick. Whoa, he got both of his numbers wrong. In 18th century America, the age of consent for marriage was 12 years old for females and 14 years old for males under English civil law. However, the English Marriage Act of 1753 required that marriages for those under 21 be covered by a license or the publication of bans. The license required parent consent in a ban. Okay, so SNEAKO's not speaking against parent consent, but that was different. Those were different numbers, were they not? Am I tripping?
Well, I'm saying 200 years ago, the age of marriage in America was 10 and the UK was 7.
Okay, that's just not true. That's not true. It was 16, not 10. So he's just flat out wrong. I'm not even going to look up the UK, but he's just wrong there according to the data I could pull up in real time. All right, that doesn't mean it wasn't happening, but that's just not true. But let's let him cook.
Right, so if the government decides to change it, you're saying it's 18. If the government, maybe if Kamala Harris gets elected, then the new legal age of an adult is 25. And there could be reasons to say that. They graduated college, they don't leave the house until this age. Their brains don't develop until they're 25. Your frontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. A lot of people aren't making serious money. They're not able to live independently. A lot of things that you could use to classify an adult don't happen for the new age American until 25 years old. So if Kamala Harris raised it to 25, would you then say that that's the new age?
Now, that's a great question on SNEAKO's part. Okay, because remember, Moist Critical was saying, hey, within your Islamic framework, you guys are cool with child marriage. SNEAKO says the past, which is apparently not true, 200 years ago, nothing we could find on that. But now he says, well, if it was raised based on these variables, would you be okay with it?
Would you agree with that?
I think that'd be totally understandable. Like,
right,
I think that's fine.
So then does that make anybody who sleeps with an under 25-year-old, does that now make them a pedophile?
A PDF file.
No, I don't think necessarily that makes them a retroactive pedophile.
So then what's a pedophile?
It's an accepted definition of 18 for a long time. Is
not for that long. Not for that long, and not through most states, and not through most countries across the world.
Charlie believes that at 18, there should be a hardline age of consent, so there isn't a gray area for predators to exist in and take advantage of minors.
So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid?
Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms. If it is under 18, even if it's 17, 364, that's still a kid.
Okay, so SNEAKO's framework is that upon maturity physically and with the parental consent, that's I want to say more or less what Islam teaches.
Kid. Okay, so right now,
I think it's important to have these hard lines in the sand where it doesn't have this kind of wiggle room.
SNEAKO then clarifies his definition.
You keep thinking that I'm saying this because I want the age to be lowered. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
That's what it comes across as, though. When you
maybe with the internet brain, because people in the West, they want to have sex all the time and they have a different sort of mindset. Right here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now. They want to get married and then have sex. So people, just because I'm saying this does not mean automatically lower. No, that's not the case at all.
We don't have to talk about. Do you think it's okay to be marrying a 15 or 16-year-old? Probably not, right? I would imagine probably not.
It depends. So this is where the age of consent becomes arbitrary. I don't even believe like that. Consent is a weird thing to even speak about, but it should be the father, right? If I want to marry a girl, I shouldn't even just get consent from her. I should get consent from her parents. She should want to say yes. Her parents would want to say yes. That's consent from the family, and then you get married.
And they would say that within their framework that it's after the woman has had her monthlies. which is crazy because they feel like that's when they've started. So you do get into this idea of potentially prepubescent or early pubescent marriages within his worldview. Okay, not good. Okay, that's it. I will say that I think generally speaking, people in the West get married too late, which I think may cause perhaps some of the sexual immorality that we see happening. That is a more of a socioeconomic issue. I think people are not, they don't got their lives together to get married at 18, 19, 20 years old. But I think getting married younger and growing older is good, though they say 25 is the optimal age to get married. So I think I'm okay with people getting married. I was 23, my wife was 21. I think Zach was 21, his wife was 19. I know a lot of people that got married in their early 20s, some even in their late teens, and they're doing great. And they've been married for decades and decades and decades. When you have a biblical worldview, I think that is optimal. I wouldn't be okay with someone super duper young getting married like that, like 13, 14. Yeah, that just sounds weird.
Continued arguing back and forth on this issue for 40 minutes straight while neither side was wavering. Charlie was firm on his stance that anyone under 18 is a child and no child can consent to sex and or marriage. So SNEAKO pivoted to a different question regarding minors.
You could take hormone.
Now this is where SNEAKO catches a W. Okay, and again, big shout out to Patrick CC for sourcing all this for us.
You could take hormone blockers. You could take puberty blockers. Okay, when you're a child. When you're 16, you can go change your gender, but you can't.
And those are permanent decisions. A lot of that is chemically castrating medication. Okay.
Get married? Why is that?
That's I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty obvious question.
No, it's not. It's not. See, if you cut your penis off, like Crystal Mr. Beast, if you cut your penis off, that is a life-altering decision. You can't glue it back on. You can get divorced if you get married. This is a commitment that you're taking. A child, based off the liberal point of view that you believe in, they can have gender surgery. They can change forever. Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay,
so Charlie is okay with a child going through gender-changing therapy, affirming care, whatever you want to call it, but he's not okay with someone getting married below the age of 18. This is where both of these guys are just wrong. Children shouldn't get married, and children shouldn't be allowed to change their gender or take permanent medication because they can't get tattoos. They can't do any of the things that adults can do, like drive, so on and so forth.
As long as everyone, parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familiar decision to make. Yeah.
Okay.
SNEAKO laughs and even Charlie laughs because they
I mean, that's a checkmate, right? Isn't that a checkmate?
both realize that Charlie is using the exact same line of thinking that SNEAKO used to justify the age of consent.
Okay. So a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So, but it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation.
It's
a personal decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is.
This is a massive L on Charlie's part, and it makes SNEAKO sound sane for being okay with child marriage or early teenage marriage. This is an insane, asinine position that makes SNEAKO sound like the reasonable one in the room. Both of these guys are off, for the record.
Yeah, I believe everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay, but so everyone has the right to do with their body, but not when it comes to a sacred marriage where they have kids, where they add to society.
That's no longer just you. They can't possibly wrap their head around this adult that has been preying on them. Like, I don't know why you can't see that. A 16-year-old can't be making this decision on this adult who is convincing them that I am the right choice for you for life.
Right. But a 9-year-old boy can go into a clinic and decide that doctor, that 40-year-old doctor, could cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make, that doesn't bother me. Absolutely does not.
Okay.
Hey, maybe a 24-year-old watching your streams like, oh, you know what? This 15-year-old's pretty mature. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to talk to them. Do you think that's cool?
No, that's not cool. You're supposed to talk to the father before you get married. If her father's not okay with it,
that's the issue you had with that? scenario.
Yeah, but when you approach marriage, you don't just go approach a girl and that's not what Islamically is allowed. You're supposed to go to the father and supposed to see where it goes from there. So that's never what I said.
24-year-old talks to the father of a 15-year-old and gets his permission. Now it's cool.
Get to the father and say, like, am I interested in marrying your physically mature, your adult daughter? Okay.
Okay. The notion that the issue is not quote unquote mature. There seems to be, I'm gonna be very careful, some precedent that this is happening with prepubescent children within this context, and grown men, like in their 20s and 30s, marrying preteens. That's the real crux of the issue. Now, I think it's different when you got two 15, 16-year-olds and the families know each other and the marriage is arranged and then they get married at 17, 18, 19 versus a 25-year-old and a 10-year-old or a 25-year-old and a 15-year-old. Both of these dudes took complete L's in this conversation. I think SNEAKO, someone said this in a chat, shout out to Blaine, SNEAKO did a great job of moving the goalpost. The issue with Islam isn't 16, it's 9. And they believe that their own, prophet, and this has been debated, Mike Jones from Aspiring Philosophy debated this, their own their own prophet had a child bride that I think they want to say married potentially at 5 and consummated the marriage at 9 or 11. And she was fit, and he's 55. That's the issue. That's the real crux of the issue, And then you get into the potential of people being sold, and you could fill in the blanks there, right? Yeah, at 6 and consummated at 9. Yeah, I think that's what they would say. And again, you guys could go look up Mike Jones from Inspiring Philosophy debating this. I don't think him and SNEAKO would debate this, but we've seen him debate this, and so it's a really dark conclusion that SNEAKO has came to in terms of its logical implications. And Moist Critical also, massive L for him. And then he went on to say, I didn't know it was a debate. I don't like to debate, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, he completely gets owned by SNEAKO. And again, SNEAKO sounds like the reasonable one in the room here. And it's very sad. So darkness. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.